This is something that I will forever be a hater about. So if you guys don't know, Herman Hansen is, if you guys know League of Legends history, he's basically Unicorns of Love. He's like this one player who has so many event wins and has such an impacting legacy on competitive Yu-Gi-Oh! But he always does it with like the most weird dog shit decks of all time. Like Unicorns of Love picking Yorick Cassiopeia against like Fnatic is the equivalent of Herman Hansen willing to play Melodious Pure for the Swedish nationals. Like he was like the first guy to like start labbing this deck out seriously and be like, yeah, this is real gamer shit. Like, look at this shit. Oh my god. This really was day one pure Melodious when no one had any idea of what the fuck they were doing. Oh my god, look at this shit. Cannon still in main deck. No level 8. One Melodious Concerto, because we don't fear DD Crow. Haggard Lizard Voice. Bagushka Pass. Oh my god, I love this shit. This is like the most amazing deck of all time. It's awesome. If there's one pro player who I will respect with all of my heart, it is forever going to be Herman Hansen. Which is why when he said that the worst part about this Master Duel Worlds qualifier is that people are account sharing, but it's likely they aren't getting published. Wish Konami would step up. And if this applies to you, then you are actively cheating at a card game when other people don't. Step up and don't be a loser. So if you guys are unaware, is that essentially it is a 2-part event where everyone who qualifies in stage 1 is able to play in stage 2, which is basically just an infinite grind of who will have the most points after a 72-hour period. By the way, it is a non-stop 72-hour period, and whoever has the most points at the end of it all essentially gets to go to Worlds, and everyone else gets what are called season points, and whoever has the most season points at the end of the year gets to go to Worlds as well. Anyone who shares an account should be executed, not gonna lie. That is a strong stance to take, but I respect it wholeheartedly. The main problem with Master Duel's Duelist Cup is that it basically requires you to live like an animal for like 3 days. If you guys don't know, the guy, there's a guy named Guerra who I believe got #1 in the world by like a very, very, very large margin in regards to his placement. And everyone was like, OMG, Guerra's such a cheater. How could he do this? And it just turns out that he was not only living like a fucking degen, but also he was playing on Xbox. And at the time, what you could do is that if you were on Xbox, you could turn off crossplay. If you guys don't know, crossplay means like the ability to play with like PC players or like PS4 players from Xbox. You could just turn off crossplay and he would just play against like 1,000 point ranked Andes on Sword Soul Adventure. It was just like, yeah, what are you gonna do about it? Coughing baby turbo. Real. It really was just like this really stupid scenario that kind of just exacerbated of how far people were willing to go for this. If you tell anyone that there's essentially a US Open and the winner of it gets to go to the World Championship / Olympics, then you bet your ass that people are gonna fucking put in the effort and they're gonna do whatever it takes. And apparently account sharing is a huge one. I'm not gonna say like I know 100% who are account sharings. I'm not gonna pretend like I know who are account sharers. I'm not gonna pretend like I know for a fact that like, you know, yeah, there are top players in the cup right now who are account sharing. But what I am saying is that these sort of practices do exist because just the amount of games and rating and blah 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 that people are able to get, it just doesn't make sense. And we know for a fact that like some people, their rating changes overnight while they're asleep. It's just like, it just doesn't make sense. Konami's fault for promoting a format where account sharing helps you significantly. If done correctly, it's not even detectable. I've warned about this since the first qualifier, but who cares? The fault is not Konami's fault whatsoever. Someone decides to cheat is because they themselves are a cheater. Both takes are correct. Account sharing in Master Duel WCQ, if prevalent, I haven't seen well addressed by the community. It's beyond me. Fixing these kind of issues must be a collaborative effort between the developer and player base. How do we enforce against it? Unfortunately, the actual answer is that it's kind of impossible. You know what I mean? Because if people know like what they're doing, they could just set up VPNs. Like it's very, very easy to just like open NordVPN and have everyone only play Master Duel out of a specific server, so you can't like IP track. And maybe you could like device track, but it's not like Master Duel as far as we know, at least. As far as we know, Master Duel doesn't have anything like Riot Vanguard where it's actually able to detect device input and collect device data. So that's also like for now out of the question. You know, I don't really want to give fucking Konami of all companies root access to my fucking computer. VPNs are against Master Duel's TOS. Yeah, you're right, Grand Harrier. I'm sure no one will ever try and break any TOS or law ever because Konami said so. Thank you, Socket O, for the follow. Please hit the subscribe or follow button so you can hear the new sub alert.
Have you never considered a horse penis as a masturbatory aid?
Thank you. My point is Konami could blanket anyone who uses it, but they won't, but they could. Yeah, it is possible. Like, it is very, like, that is a solution, but then you kind of run into, like, this weird issue. Like, some people play on VPNs due to, like, country regulations in regards to games that are allowed to be played and, like, what's not. Like, the easiest example, I think, is, like, one example I give is, like, certain European countries where, like, games with loot boxes are just straight up banned. So some people will play on VPNs in order to even play the game at all. Like, that's a scenario where blanket banning is going to get people being like, what the fuck? Why was I banned? I literally can't play the game otherwise unless I use a VPN. And it just becomes like this shitty can of worms. Like, it sounds good on paper, but when you get into like the nitty gritty of these sort of logistical challenges, it just becomes a massive headache for everyone involved. Duh, breaking the law is against the law. It's really crazy. Whenever like I rob a Chevron, they're like, oh, why are you doing this? Like, don't you know that you're breaking the law? Don't you know that taking hostages and stealing the jack links is against the law? I'm like, yeah, I know, but I'm a criminal, so I don't care. Cap games per day, then go win, loss, draw. What if you have a bad day? What if you have a good day? What if you have a bad day at a YCS? Should you still top? Okay, okay. That's fair. I think that when it comes to infinite ladder systems like Master Duel, like Hearthstone, like League of Legends, there always is this kind of catch-22 of like bad players can reach high elos or high ranks. Not because like they're particularly better, but just because they're able to and willing to put in the amount of time. You know what I mean? So the question becomes, if we don't want to combat cheaters, should we remove the incentive, i.e. cap the number of games we play, as well as suggested before? Like, in my opinion, I don't think best of ones should ever have a tournament structure. You know what I mean? I think best of one is objectively the least skill intensive or least skill expressive way to play any game. I think that best of ones are so bad because there's so much variance that goes into a game like Yu-Gi-Oh that some decks are designed to be fucking absolutely goated in best of ones, and some decks are just, they're very, very good to play in the long run. Like, think of like Horus Cheerlament. That is a deck that is very, very good to grind out a Duelist Cup with, in my opinion, and that's if you're able to play like 100 games a day. But when it comes to something like Stun, if you get like one lucky day, you're able to just fucking absolutely wall up everyone. You know what I mean? Like, if Tenpai ever gets released in Master Duel, like that is a deck that actually can go like 10-0 or 0-10 in some days if you cap the number of games. I quit Master Duel because it's best of one. Whoever draws the better cards wins. My reaction when card game in Yu-Gi-Oh, like in my opinion, like game ones do not matter for the most part. They are just so unimportant in the grand scheme of it all because like you're playing blind and you don't have sideboard cards. So basically like game ones are always a coin flip in my opinion. And games 2 and 3 is where Yu-Gi-Oh is actually quote unquote skill testing and the games are important in a way. But like in Master Duel, it's literally only best of ones. So a lot less skill expressive. But anyways, those are just like some off the rip thoughts regarding Duelist Cup, regarding like the ethics of Master Duel as a whole. Let me know what your guys' thoughts on this all as a whole. Do you like the current situation or not? And yeah, I will see you guys in the next video.